Okay, so I think from now on, I'm going to record all of the session that we have, and then I'm going to upload that to my YouTube channel, but I'm going to make it unlisted. So I'm going to give you the link, well, if you want to see it, or I'm going to give you the link in Edmodo, so you can watch it anytime. Maybe if you forgot some topics or some concept, you can go and watch the video again, and then to review, and maybe if you're in grade 8 and then you're in grade 9 later in the future, and then you still want to see the video because there are some topics that related to that topic, you can just go there. Okay. So, okay, without further ado, let's start the lesson. I'm going to share my screen here, and wait, so I'm gonna put them up to the side. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this is going to be the title of our lesson today: adjacent, vertical, supplementary, and complementary angle. So we have these things. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that most of you, yeah, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that most of you just heard these words, right? Maybe the vertical, yes, you know vertical, horizontal, but maybe you have just heard about adjacent, supplementary, and complementary angle. Although you have learned this in primary, I don't know if they taught you in English or not, but now we're going to use full English, so I would like you to write down any new vocabularies that you have in your notebook, okay? So I'm gonna start. Here we go. Oke, ini saya belum absen ya. Saya absennya nanti di tengah. Okay. So, okay, adjacent, vertical, supplementary, and complementary. So, what are they? Okay, so adjacent angles are side by side and share a common base. So, if you see here, the red one, sorry, we have actually we have two rays, the black one, the most left and the most right. As you can see that if I have those two and then I add another one, so this guy actually doesn't exist yet, right? Before it's base, right? So before it's just those two rays. So I'm gonna give a name to that maybe to make it easier for you to understand. Okay, so let's say I have this is ray AB. And then we have another one. This is maybe ray AC. Right? So let's say I have these two rays, okay, ray AB and ray AC. And then I make another, it's not making another ray, so like dividing that ray into two parts. It can be equal part, it can be different size of angles, it can be anything. But if we divide this into two or more parts from these ray AB and AC, then we call it adjacent angle. Right? These two angles, we call it adjacent angle because they share a common rate. So if I so ini mau ditulis dulu, kalau ditulis ya guys. Kalau saya nge-lag bilang ya, ini saya agak teriak-teriak soalnya saya nggak pakai earphone because my earphone, that's not my earphone, is the jack, audio jack of my laptop is broken, so I cannot use my earphone again. Not until it's fixed. Okay, so here we go. Again, adjacent angles. Yeah. Adjacent angles are side by side and share. Wait, so these two, the 45 and the 15, we call it adjacent angle because they are side by side. Right? Okay. So and it share a common ray. Which ray is it? This guy over here. So let me say this is AB. So ray AB, right? AB shares two angles, right? Two angles. So which the angles are the 45 and the 15. Okay. So let me give you another example of this. And here we go. So these are the examples of adjacent angle. Can you see that? We have actually the arrow, the ray that you see are different from the other two rays. That is what we call the one that divide those two, and we call them the angles that pair. We call it adjacent angle. So for this case over here, So these 35 and 55 are adjacent angles because they share the common ray, which is this ray over here, right? That ray, because that ray specifically divides the angles on the left side and the right side, right? So we call that 35 and 55 are pairs of adjacent angles. Okay, the same thing with this one, 80 and 45. We have this ray here, which divides this into two parts, right? So the 80 and 45, we also call it adjacent angles. Okay, this guy is the same thing, 85 and 20, because it shares with this ray, and 130 and 50 also being divided shares a common ray, and that red one over there. And again, we call them the pair of adjacent angles. Okay, so the question is, if these are adjacent angle, what is not an adjacent angle? What is not? Kalau ini adjacent, yang enggak adjacent itu ini nama. Okay, so I'm gonna give you here this three angles in which we have those angles, the one that has numbers, the size of the measurements. We cannot say that they are adjacent. For example, the first one we have this 100 and that 50, this guy and this guy. Why we cannot call them adjacent? Because those two doesn't share the same ray, right? This 50 has this ray over here, right? This 100, this ray over here, and it's not the same. They are different rays. So we cannot call them adjacent. That's the first one, the first example. The second example, this one over here, the 55 and 45. Again, they do not share a common ray because that 45 has this ray and this ray, right? And the 55 is this ray and this ray. There is no common ray between the 55 and 45. So we cannot say that 55 and 45 is adjacent, right? So focus on the one that has the size, that 55 and 45. So again, both of them are not adjacent because they do not share a common ray. Okay. Okay, the last example here, we have this guy and this guy, right? Again, this 35 on the top is made from these two rays, right? While the one on the bottom, I'm going to use a color maybe. We have these two rays, right? And these two angles, this guy and this guy, doesn't have a common ray, right? A common ray is something like this. If I have a ray, and let's say I have an angle, let's say this is like 20 degree, and this is, let's say, at 50 degree, and I make it like this, and these two are common ray, adjacent angles, ya. Ini yang kita sebut dengan adjacent angle. Jadi kalau nggak ada satu ray yang dia ngebagi persis gitu ya, these two angles, then we cannot say that they are adjacent. So I'm gonna erase this one here because this is an adjacent angle. Okay, before I continue, is there any questions or is it clear enough for the explanation? What do you think, guys? Silakan berkomentar, ada yang mau ditanya, apakah sudah jelas, atau suara saya kurang nyaring, atau suara saya kurang merdu, atau gimana guys? Cukup ya? Lanjut ya? Oke, next up. Okay, here we go. Next up is what we call the vertical angle. Tadi udah selesai ya, adjacent angle-nya. Sekarang kita ngomongin vertical angles, oke? So, please write this down. Tolong ditulis ya di buku catatan. Ini wajib pakai B. B-nya pakai oleh-olehnya kubra. Karena di akhir ya. Yeah, okay. When two lines intersect, they make a vertical angle. Yeah. So as you can see here, we have two lines. Let's say I'm gonna name those two lines. Okay, so here we go. So let's say this is line AB. Okay, so this is line AB, and the other one, let's name that with line B, so CD. Okay? A, B, C, D. Okay, so remember when we learned about lines, if two lines, we have parallel lines, right? We have intersecting line, we have perpendicular lines, right? So again, but if they are intersecting like this, right? They will make vertical angles, right? Remember that we have this point over here. Does anyone remember what do we call this point here? Ada yang masih ingat nggak? Ini namanya apa ya? Point. Let's say I'm gonna name that with P. What do we call this P? Dareka imasu ka? Dareka?
Vertex bukan, Pak?
Ya, bisa. Ada lagi tapi yang lebih tepat. Vertex itu bisa vertex juga sih, tapi ada lagi. Saya kasih huruf depannya ya. Ini thank you very much ya. Ya, oke. In. Nah. Titik. P.
Intersection point.
Yes, Akasha. Arigatou gozaimashita, Akasha. Yes, it is what we call the intersection point. Yeah. Why do we call it intersection point? Because it is a place, it is a point in where these two lines intersect. That's why we call it intersection point. Yeah, okay. So if they make an intersection point, two lines ya, bukan re ya, two lines make intersect, then they will make vertical angles. So here we go. These, ya, masih sudut yang sama ya, masih the same line. Those 75, ya, the one that opposite one another, ya, yang saling bertolak belakang gitu ya. Opposite itu kan bertolak belakang. Itu kita sebutnya vertical angle. Yang 75 yang sama 75 yang depan sama yang belakang kita sebut opposite. Ya. So this 75 and this 75, right? This angle, the one angle that going that way and going that way because they are opposite, ya kan, yang satu ke atas, yang satu ke bawah gitu ya. Ya kan? Dia kan berlawanan arah ya. Nah, kita sebutnya vertical angle. Itu yang 75 yang sampai dengan 75 gitu. Let's name this with angle A and this angle with B, for example. So we can say that angle A and angle B are vertical angles. Ya. Jadi pasangannya guys, ya semuanya vertikal gitu, tapi pasangannya mana sama mana ya. Kalau kita sebut vertical angles, yang pasangannya yang mana? Yang A ini sama yang B, ya, yang ini sama yang B. Karena mereka berlawanan arah gitu. Kalau kita sebut opposite itu berlawanan aja, right? Jadi yang berlawanan arah yang sama B. Terus yang 105 di mana ya dia? Vertical angles guys. Mereka saling bertolak belakang nggak? Yes or no? Yes or no? Hello.
Hai guys. Halo, apa kabar?
Halo, bagaimana ini? Apakah tidak ada yang mau menjawab? Tidak ada. Oh, kasihan sekali para belajar. Oh. Ya udah nggak apa-apa deh, saya sendiri deh. Oke, so these two, the 105 and 104, also opposite. Also opposite ya. Jadi pasangannya, let's say this is angle C, misalnya ini angle C, ini angle B gitu ya. This one is angle C, this one is angle B. Ya. Because since they're opposite, ya kan, bertolak belakang ya guys. Yang satu dia ke kiri, yang satu ke kanan. Nah mereka juga vertical angles gitu. Tapi pasangannya yang saya bilang ya, pasangan vertical angles adalah yang itu gitu, yang B sama yang D. So we can say that angle C ini pairs ya saya pikir. Angle C and angle B are pair of vertical angles, gitu ya. Ya, jadi pokoknya kalau kalian lihat dia bertolak belakang gitu ya, dua garis ya. If you see two lines intersect and they will make like four angles ya. Ntar ada 4 kan? Ada empat angles nih yang dibentuk yang sebelah sini, sebelah sini gitu ya. Ada 4 angles nih. Tapi kalau kita ngomongin vertical angles ya, specifically yang berpasangan mana sama yang mana adalah yang berlawanan arah. Misalnya satu ke atas, satu ke bawah ya berarti itu adalah pair vertical angles. Jadi kalau misalnya saya bilang, Pak, apakah C dengan A vertical angles? Ya enggak gitu. Karena C sama A kan tidak berlawanan arah. Yang satu ke kiri, yang satu ke atas. Kiri itu lawannya bukan atas, tapi kiri itu lawannya adalah kanan. Jadi kalau dia opposite berarti dia baru punya pair of vertical angles. Ya, oke? Bagaimana? Wakarimashita ka minna tachi?
Wakarimashita ka? Wakarimashita ka? Hai, suzuki desu ka? Suzuki? Hai? Kok diam semua? Nanti kalau ke sekolah ya, ngobrol. Oke, lanjut. Let's go to the next slide. Here we go. Again, like I said before ya, the 75 with the 75 are pairs of quantities. And the 105 and the 105 also quantities. But again, guys, it needs to be in pair ya. Here. Kalau dua berpasangan ya. Okay, so and then here, please write this down ya. Ini penting sekali. Tulis. Vertical angles are congruent. Nah, kalau kita sebut congruent, congruent itu artinya sama ya, equal. So I don't know if you have ever heard of this word. Maybe you have heard of this word, but you don't really know what it means. Congruent means equal. So if I say this is angle A, for example, this is angle B, this is angle C, and this is angle D. Question, can you give me one pair of vertical angles? Which angle with which angle? Yang mana dengan yang mana? Bentuk. Raihan deh. Raihan, what do you think? Yang pasangannya yang mana dengan yang mana? Raihan. Kalau saya sebut yang A pasangannya dengan yang mana supaya dia vertical angle?
Yang C, Pak.
Ya, betul ya. Benar ya? Gitu ya. Nah, ini kan saling berseberangan gitu ya. Saling opposite itu, yang ini arahnya ke sana, yang ini arahnya ke sana, berlawan ya. That's why we call it vertical angles. Oh, berarti si A itu pasangannya dengan si C untuk menjadi vertical angles gitu. Ya. Gampang ya, cuma gitu doang kan ya. It's very easy ya. Oke, gitu ya. Nah, oke, sekarang ini udah ditulis ya. Vertical angles are congruent, kalau ditulis. Vertical angles itu dia besarnya sama. Lihat deh, pasti sama. Kamu mau diapain kayak gimana juga, pasti dia akan sama. Please write this down because this is going to be very, 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 very important. Ya. Hey, please write this down because as you know here, okay, I'm gonna use my highlighter. So as you can see here, there's 150 degree, and this also 150 degree, right? As you can see that pairs of vertical angles are going to be the same. Ya, akan sama persis kalau itu sama ya, nggak mungkin yang satunya 150, yang satunya 149. Kenapa kurangin satu dikit ya Pak? Nggak apa-apa kali dikit, nggak boleh. Harus sama persis ya. Nah, the same thing, right? If I have angle B, that will be pairs of vertical angle with D. Ya? Yang B itu pasangannya dengan si D untuk vertical angle-nya. Berarti, which means that angle B pasti akan sama persis dengan angle B. Besarnya gitu ya. The size of angle B will be exactly the same with angle D. As you can see this, two, they are perfectly the same. Yeah? The same size of angles. Right? Okay, any question before I continue? Because we're going to go to the next one. We have the first one is adjacent angles, right? Remember, adjacent angles are angles in which they share a common ray. If they don't have a common ray, then we cannot say that they are adjacent. And the second one is what we call vertical angles. And as you can see, that vertical angles are opposite angles that made by two lines that intersect. Ya, kalau ada dua garis yang berpotongan gitu ya, berarti yang bertolak belakang itu kita sebutnya vertical angles ya. Yang A dengan yang C, yang ini yang B dengan yang si D. Dan and you can see that the size of the angles are the same, or we call it congruent. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, here we go. Please write this down. This is a new one because kita tadi ada 4 ya guys. Yang pertama adjacent angles, yang kedua adalah vertical angles, yang ketiga adalah supplementary angles, nanti yang terakhir adalah complementary angles. Ya. So this one is supplementary angles. Okay, please write this down. In supplementary angles, and the theory is that supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So if you have angles in which they say supplementary, it means that if you add those angles, if you add the size of that angles, you will get exactly 180 degrees. Okay. So, for example, we have the first one here. We know that we have to learn about adjacent angles, right? So this. Saya kan pengennya warna merah. Sebentar, saya ganti dulu. This guy over here, right? That 120 and 60 are adjacent angle, right? Adjacent angle. Why? Because they share a common ray. Which ray is it? This guy over here, right? That ray, right, divides that 120 and 60. Ya kan? Dia persis di tengah-tengahnya 120 dan 60, membagi jadi dua. Ya, makanya kita sebutnya adjacent angle. And then as you can see that after we divide that by two parts, we have 120 degree and 60 degree. And as you can see also, if I add these two value of the angle, what will it be? Kalau saya jumlah jadi berapa guys itu? 120 tambah 60 berapa? Berapanya? Niki, berapa Niki? Niki belum di-unmute. Ya.
180, Pak.
Iya, 180. Gitu ya. Right? Because if you add 120 plus 60, you will get 180 degree. So we can say that these two angles are supplementary. Ya. Kalau dijumlah persis hasilnya 180 derajat, kita sebutnya supplementary angle. Gitu ya. Harus persis ya, kalau kurang dikit nggak boleh Pak. Gimana kalau 109,9? Ya enggak supplementary, karena enggak 180 gitu ya. Nah, cara ngingetnya gini guys, kalau supplementary itu garis lurus itu aja, right? Because we have already learned about straight angle, gitu. Straight angle, straight begins with the S, right? Straight supplement, ya berarti straight itu ya supplement. Supplement itu ya 180 derajat gitu ya. So again, okay? Nah, sekarang kita lihat contoh yang selanjutnya. Can you see on the right side? This guy over here, right? So, the next example that I'm gonna give you is that over there. So, question. 40 plus 180, 40, berapa? Saya mau tanya. Sharon, what is 40 plus 140? Hello? Oh iya. Loh, kok hilang? Lah, apa saya tanya pas hilang? Ada apa ini? Ya ada Kiko.
Ya, Pak.
Ya, kalau ditambah jadi berapa nih?
40 sama 140, Pak.
Ya, berapa?
180.
Oke, berarti supplementary enggak?
Iya.
Iya, betul. Supplementary ya. Pokoknya kalau dijumlah hasilnya 180 berarti supplementary aja. Nah, bedanya apa dengan the first example with the second example? Bedanya yang ini adjacent, yang ini enggak adjacent. Itu bedanya. Itu doang ya. Ya, jadi kalau adjacent tuh ya persis dia ada ray yang membagi persis nih. Ini dua, ini persis cuma satu aja ray ini yang membagi. Tapi ini kan enggak. Ya kan yang 40 ini gitu kan. Ini kan ada ray-nya ini yang dibentuk ya. Nah, ini di sini kan enggak ada ray yang sama ya antara yang ini dengan yang ini gitu. Yang 40 dengan yang 100. Ya, because they do not share the same ray gitu ya. Makanya kita sebutnya enggak adjacent. Walaupun yes, this is supplementary, Pak. Iya betul. Supplementary betul sekali, tapi dia enggak adjacent. Bedanya cuma di situ doang ya. So again, if I say supplementary angles, it means that angles which add up to 180 degree. Ya, kalau misalnya ditambah, pokoknya kalau dijumlah gitu ya, anglesnya itu bisa lebih dari satu ya, bisa lebih dari dua ya kan. Misalnya ada 3 angles. 3 angles ini mereka supplementary. Oh berarti 3 angle ini kalau saya tambahin hasilnya 180 gitu ya. Jadi keywordnya adalah supplementary itu adalah add up to 180 degree. Ya. Oke, thank you ya tadi Kiko ya. Oke. Otomatis berasa. Next slide. Oke, nah kalau tadi supplementary, sekarang complementary ya. Saya tahu kalian tahunya complement itu adalah pujian, yes. Betul, complement. Aduh, complement gitu ya, complement juga. Tapi ini bukan itu ya. Complementary means the word dari kata-kata complete sebenarnya ya. Complementary angles add up to 90 degree ya. Jadi kalau kita tambah, kalau tadi 180 derajat, kalau ini 90 derajat. Bedanya cuma itu doang ya. Jadi again, if we have complementary angles, it means that if we add the size of the angles, that will be exactly 90 degree. Yeah, exactly 90 degree. Again, like the first example, if we add these two if we add these two angles, the size of these two angles, what will we have? Okay, Arka. Kalau dijumlah jadi berapa tuh?
90.
Yes, oke. Okay. Berarti komplementari enggak, Arka?
Iya.
Yeah, betul ya. Again, because if we add these two angles, 30 plus 60 is exactly 90 degrees. Since it is adding up, you get exactly 90 degrees, then we can call it complementary angle. Yeah? And the same thing with the second example here, we have 40 and we also have 50, right? If we add them up, Ali, jadi berapa kali?
90 Pak.
90 juga. Jadi komplementari enggak? Ali?
Iya Pak.
Iya. Bedanya apa dengan contoh yang pertama dengan ini?
Bukan.
Apa bedanya? Apa bedanya? Dia sama-sama komplementari ya, tapi apa bedanya?
Nggak ada. Bukan.
Ada bedanya nih, bedanya ini.
Iya tahu.
Ya itu ada tulisannya. Tinggal baca. Oke, Ali, thank you ya. Okay, guys. So again, like I said before, adjacent angles or angles that share common plane. If they do not share a common plane, then we cannot say they're adjacent angles. But if we can see that if we're talking about complementary angles, it means that it will add up to 90 degrees. So if we add up 40 and 50, yeah, 40 plus 50 is also exactly 90 degrees. It means that these two angles are pairs of complementary angles. Ya. Jadi pairs of complementary angles. Oke, sampai sini ada yang ditanyakan? Saya mau kita mau latihan dulu sedikit. Cukup paham ya? Oke, I'm gonna stop share dulu sebentar. I'm going to get my question ready. Oh iya, Nadira. Oh maaf ya, tadi saya tidak melihat. Thank you, Nadira. Elia. Yes. Okay, I'm going to open my kudasai. Oke, sedikit sebentar, saya mau siapin dulu. Oke, sebentar ya. Mana ya? Saya bikin sendiri aja lah. Hilang ya, entah kemana ya sudah. Oke, here we go. Oke, sekarang saya mau buat complementary angle dulu. So if we see that we have a complementary angles, okay, again guys, two angles are complementary if they add up to 90 degrees. Yeah, right. If angle A plus angle B is 90 degrees, then A and B are complementary angles. Example, 60 degree and 30 degree, right? This is the example. If you can see that 60 and 30, if you add 60 plus 30, you get exactly 90. Yes, but that's why we call these two pairs of complementary angles. 80 and 10 is also the same. 80 plus 10 is also again 90 degrees. So we call them pairs of complementary angles. And these two are not complementary angles because 20 plus 30 is not 90 degree, right? It's 50, right? 50 is not the same with 90. So that's why these two are not complementary. Okay, so I'm going to give you a question. Oops. Let's say I have a right angle on the screen, not on the screen, it's in front of the screen. So let's say I have a right angle. So let's say ABC. I have ABC. Okay, I'm gonna name that. So angle ABC is a right angle. Let's say I'm going to say that. And as you remember, guys, right angle is a 90 degree angle. So let's say I'm going to divide these two with like that. Okay. So let's say I know that this is 25 degrees. And let's say I have this as x degree. Okay. question. What is the value of x? Does anyone want to try?
Can I try?
Yes, of course, Sharon.
90 degrees minus 25 degrees.
Okay, so that will be equal to?
Wait,
Mhm.
65.
65 degree. Okay, thank you very much. Saya kangen sebenarnya jawabnya, soalnya udah jarang gitu. Karena koneksinya ya. Okay, so again guys, remember that if we add those two angles, it will be 90. So I can write it down like this, ya. Sharon tadi udah langsung ke jawaban. Saya mau lebih awal lagi ya. Dari mana Sharon dapat itu? So as you can see, the theory is if we add those two angles, it will be 90 degrees. So if we can say that x plus 25 will be equal to 90, right? Ya nggak sih, benar kan? Because we know that if we add those two angles, we'll be get 93. And because we understand algebra, masih ingat ya algebra guys? So remember, because we're looking for the value of x, right? So which means that we must get rid of this, right? What do we do? By subtracting both sides by 25. So I'm going to write down an x squared, x plus 25 in here equals to 90 in here. And then remember in algebra, whatever happened, whatever you do on the left side of the equal sign, you do exactly the same thing on the right side, right? So this cancels because it's just 0. So it's just x, and then 90 minus 25 is equal to 65. Okay, so later on, if I gave you a question like this, please do it like this, okay? Gitu ya, guys. Tolong ditulisnya kayak gini, karena because this is a simple question, guys. But if you go to another level, if like it's more complex, you won't get as simple as this. The answer is not going to be as simple. You need to do a systematical process in order to find the correct answer accurately. Yeah? Okay, thank you, Sharon. Next, I'm going to give you another question. Let's say I'm going to divide that into 3 parts. What if I divide that into 3 parts? Sorry, ini gambarnya maaf ya, nggak lurus. Nggak apa-apa, anggap aja ini lurus ya. So let's say this is again ABC. Yeah, so let's say ABC. Let's say ABC also is a right angle. Okay, this time I'm going to divide that into a couple of angles, not only 2. That guy over there, and I'm also going to divide it again with other angles. Well, let's say it's over here. So let's say I have this angle is 10 degrees. Okay. So let's say I have this is 24 degrees. And this is x degree. So how can we find the x? Okay, silakan yang mau coba, boleh. Siapa tuh? Ya, siapa mau coba lagi boleh.
Oh, can I try again?
Of course, yes.
90 degrees minus 24 degrees minus 10 degrees.
Oke. Sharon langsung ya, gitu ya. Boleh ya, langsung begini boleh ya. Oke. So you only need to calculate. So what is the final answer? Sharon, silakan. 90 minus 24 minus 10.
56.
56. Okay. Okay, guys. If you understand, you can just go straight like this. But just make sure that you write down the process. Yeah, I'm not going to accept only that answer in the in your exercise book. Langsung jawaban akhir enggak. Harus ada prosesnya. Ya. Okay. But again, guys, like I said before, right? I would like you to understand that there is more to not more. Maksudnya, there is another more systematical way in how to do it. But again, if you understand, you can do them. Ya, kamu boleh tulisnya satu begini aja nggak apa-apa. Yang penting ada cara. Ya. But I'm going to show you a little bit different, but a little bit different. Tapi ada additional. Like I said before, if we add these angles, right, because they are inside this 90 degrees, so it means that if we add all of them, that will be 90 degrees. So I can write this down as 24 degrees plus x degree plus 10 degree will be equal to 90 degrees. So for those of you who understand a different method on how to solve algebra, they normally do it like this. Okay, I'm going to move this here because this guy also, if I move it here, it will be subtraction. Gitu ya. untuk kalian yang mungkin belajar dari orang lain atau ya gitu ya. So iya saya nge-lag ya, pasti saya nge-lag. Oke, ya terima kasih. Aduh Nadira, kamu juga cepet ya, nah, tapi kamu ngetik apa Nadira, L-nya juga saya masukin. Dia tadi jawab pakai private message. Oke ya, lanjut ya guys. So again, if I want to, there are a couple ways we have to do this. I'm gonna add this 24 and 10 first before I move it to the right side. So I will get x squared, x degree plus 34 degree equals to 90 degree. And then I can write it down like this, right? Because this guy needs to move to the right side, right? And because this is addition, so if you move here, it's going to be subtraction because the opposite operation of addition is subtraction. So that will be equal to, yeah. So there is two ways on how to do it. You can do it like this, or you can do it like this. But again, most of the time, when you see more complex problem, you will more likely to write it down like this, ya. Kalau yang masih gampang-gampang kayak gini itu. Tapi nanti kalau udah more complex, ya tulisnya kayak gini ya, karena kalau udah more complex itu nggak akan sesimpel ini. Oke? And for the complementary angle, one more example. Here we go. I'm gonna go again. See, again. ABC or right angle, for example, ABC. All right. Okay, this time I'm going to divide it by 3 again, but okay, let's say I have this guy is 2x, this is x degree, and this is let's say 36 degree. Okay, question is find the value of x. Okay, what if we have something like this? Okay, anyone want to try? Yes, Akasha, silakan. Ya, saya ngomong. Ya, saya ngomong. Oh, I'm lagging. No, I'm lagging. No. What's wrong with the internet? Okay. Gimana guys? Saya nge-lag-nya parah nggak? Parah nggak nge-lag-nya? Parah ya? Ya, kasihan di saya. Oke, belum saya tanya mungkin ya. Oh ya. Bunga deh. Bunga, what do you think, Bunga? How can we find the value of x? Bunga. Jadi mau phone friend atau mau SBO gitu. Ya ini kayaknya nge-lag ya. Ya udahlah saya jelasin aja. Ini rekamannya ada ya. Ya beneran parah nih internetnya. Wait, let me change the internet to maybe my tethering zone. Better wait. Let me see. What's wrong with the internet connection? Okay, that's me. Ini udah kedengaran belum guys? Ya, patah-patah ya? Oh, Akasha katanya udah oke. Jadi saya ngeliatnya kalau patah-patah. Ya sudahlah, saya jelasin aja ya. Oke guys. So, if the question is like this, you normally cannot do it like this. Guys, ini saya beneran guys. Ini parah banget ya. Saya ganti dulu. Kok nggak ke-detect? Bentar. Aduh, mana yang bisa pakai ya? Siapa? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guys, putus-putus harus saya ngebikin enggak?
Biasa aja.
Biasa, oke berarti bisa ya. Oke, selanjutnya guys. Oke, so for this question, you cannot do it straightly like this. Nggak bisa langsung kayak begini. Kita harus lakukan kayak begini, guys. Ya, bagaimana caranya? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is because we know that we add all the angles, it will be 90 degrees. So we can write down like this. So x, right, this guy, and then plus with 2x with this guy, right, plus with this guy is equals to 90 degrees. Okay, so this is the first thing that you need to write down. That's why I am giving you an example on how to write it down this way, in more systematic way. Okay, so how can we find the value of x? Again, you have already learned algebra, right? And then you know what like terms is, okay? So example, is there anything that I can simplify? For example, the x and 2x. Can we combine that? What will happen if I combine these two?
3x.
3x, yeah. Thank you, Sharon and Agnes. Yeah. Okay, yeah. That will become 3x. Remember, x is just 1x, right? Remember that actually it has a number in front, 1, but we don't need to write it down. So it's the same thing as an apple plus 2 apples. We get 3 apples, right? Simple as that. So which means that if we combine that, we will get 3x, and we will get something like that. Okay, if you still remember in algebra, right? Which one do we need to, I mean, what do we do after this? Then, silakan. Akasha mungkin boleh bantu. Silakan Akasha. Yes, your turn.
So we're going to make the 36 disappear.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. So we minus 36 on both sides.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So there will be no 36 on the 3x side.
Okay, good.
Now, 36 minus 90 is around 54.
54.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're not mistaken. Next.
Yes. Okay, so next you just divide 54 by 3.
Okay, so
Yes.
basically it should be like this, right?
Yes.
Okay, you cancel the 3 and you get the x. And what is 54 divided by 3?
18.
Okay. And there you go, we have the value back. Okay, so what if I add an additional question? Let's say, let me name this. Okay, so let's say I have this ray is B, this is BD, and this is ray E. Okay, so what if I have another example? Another question. What is the size of angle BBE? Okay, how about this? BBE. Oke, silakan. Danis mau coba mungkin Danis? Danis, kamu megang handphone buat apa?
Terus saya mau mindahin, Pak.
Oh, gitu. Ini gimana DBE?
So DBE
Ya, boleh. Okay,
is
silakan.
2x.
Yes.
Now, we know 1x, just x, is around 18 degrees.
Yeah, so?
So we just times it by 2 because there's 2x.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Okay. So I'm gonna explain, guys. Okay. Thank you very much. It's actually correct. As you can see here, guys, angle DBE is this guy over here, right? So DBE, right? So this guy, this is 2x. So you can write down angle DBE is equals to 2x, right? And since we know that the value of x is 18, right? Remember in semester 1, if we know the value of the variable, you can just like substitute that with the x. So that the angle of DBE will be equal to 2, and then change the x by 18. So remember that you need to use the bracket, right? So change the x, right? Substitute. Oh. Yeah, error. Error. Otomatis selesai. Teman. Ya, loading dulu. Oke, saya ulang ya guys. So, Again, because we know that the value of x is 18, right? The x is 18, so I only need to substitute that x with 18. But again, remember guys, 2x means to multiply by x, ya. Lagi dikali ya guys, jadi which means that will be equal to 2 times 18, which it will be equal to 30. Ya, udah selesai. Gitu ya. Oke, gimana sampai sini, ada pertanyaan nggak guys? Masih bingung apa sudah tidak bingung apa bagaimana? Ini saya belum absen loh guys, yang keluar-keluar.
But can I ask?
Of course, Chen.
Just now when you were like doing the first one, it was like 3x plus 36 degrees minus 36 degrees. Can you like explain that? Because like I don't understand.
This one? This one?
Yeah, it's like minus 36 and then you add 36. Like it's kind of
Oh, okay. I'm gonna explain that a little bit. This is basically just algebra. So remember that in algebra, because we want to find the value of x, it means that the final goal is to make the x on one of the sides of the equation. In this case, we're going to make that on the left side. So which means that we need to, because this guy, right, is on the left side of the equal sign, right? And this x needs to be alone, so which means that we need to get rid of the 3 and the 36, right? So that's the first concept ya. Intinya si x-nya harus sendiri kan, berarti 3 sama 36-nya ini, isi 3 sama 36. Dia harus hilang. Gimana cara ngilangin? Nah, by moving that one by one, by disappearing that one by one. Ya. Yang mana dulu yang mau dihilangin? Boleh 3 dulu, boleh 3 nanti, terserah. Ya. So if I want to get rid of this 36, it means that I will need to minus it with 36, because 36 minus 36 is equal to 0, right? That's where this minus 36 comes from, right? So that's the concept. So again, whatever I do on the left side of the equal sign, I have to do the same exact thing on the right side of the equal sign. Remember that this is the equal sign. I'm minusing 36 on the left side. It means I also need to do the same thing on the right side. Right? Okay? Paham ya caranya? Gitu ya, gitu. Jadi, apapun yang saya lakukan sebelah kiri, kalau sebelah kirinya sama dengan saya kurang 36, yang sebelah kanan juga harus sama, dikurangi 36 juga. Gitu ya. So, this is where it comes from. And why are we doing that? Because we want to get rid of this 36. Because 36 minus 36 is equal to 0. Actually, I can write down this is equal to 0, but I don't need to write that down because it's useless, ya. Yang nggak perlu ditulis, gitu ya. Ya udah, nggak usah. Ya. And then we know that 90 minus 36 is 54, so I'm just gonna write down. Ya. And then the last thing that we need to do, because the x is not alone yet, it still have 3, right? So we need to get rid of that 3. How can we get rid of that 3? Because we know that 3x means 3 multiplied by x, right? To get rid of that 3, we need to divide it by 3, because 3 divided by 3 is equal to 1. So we can just cancel it like this, right? So again, whatever happens, whatever we do on the left side of the equal sign, we need to do the same exact thing on the right side of the equal sign. So if we divide, so ini saya belum ya. Tadinya kan begini ya. Tadinya kan begini ya. Jadi ya. 3x is equals to 54. And because I want to get rid of this 3, so divide both sides by 3, gitu ya. Jadi kalau tadi sebelah kiri kurang sama dengan kurang 36, sebelah kanan juga kurang 36. Jadi kalau sebelah kiri bagi 3, sebelah kanan juga bagi 3. Again, what's the point of doing that? Because we can cancel the 3, right? If we cancel the 3, it leaves only the x on the left. And we know that 54 divided by 3 is equal. So this is going to be the math. Gimana cara? Paham ya?
Yeah, I get it. But I have like one more question.
Yeah, okay.
So if we're like given like assignments, do we have to like do it this exact way?
Most likely.
Okay.
If you have a shortcut, it's okay as long as it is systematic. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you have to do it exactly the same thing like I do. This is just one way of how to do it, but just write down anything that's systematic in the process. If you don't write down the process, then I don't know where you get the final. Ya, thank you ya sharingnya for the question. Oke, lanjut ya, satu pertanyaan lagi ya guys. I'm gonna give you one more question and then we're done. And we have done for the complementary angles. Well, basically the same thing with supplementary angles. The only difference that in complementary angles we add them up equal to 90 degrees. If we are using supplementary angles, we add them up, it will become 180 degrees. That's the only difference. Okay. So let me give you one example. So let's say I have a straight angle. Okay, I have straight angle. This is, let's say this is a angle, ray BA and ray BC, for example. And then I'm going to give you, I'm going to share this into a couple of rays. Let me give you something like this, for example. Okay, so let's say I know that this is, let's say, is 65 degrees. And I know that this is, let's say this is 3x and this is 2x. Okay, so if I write down, if I know that angle ABC is a straight angle, as we know that straight angle is an angle in which its side is 180 degrees. So if the question is find the value of x, then find the value of x. So we can do the same exact thing like we did before on the complementary angle. The only difference is that if we add this up, all of these, that will be 180 degrees. That's the only difference. Okay. So if we do this, so we can write it down. I'm going to write down the first angle, which is this one. So it's 2x. And I'm going to add with this one, the second. And then I'm going to add with this one. That will become 180 degrees. Okay, again, remember the concept, just that, because all of the working is actually the same. The only difference is just the numbers, right? The value, just that. Okay, again, because we know that we have like terms, is 2x and 3x, right? Sama aja 2 apel tambah 3 apel, jadi 5 apel gitu ya. So we can write this down as 5x plus 65 degrees equals to 100 degrees. So at the same thing like I explained previously to Sharon tadi saya udah jelasin ya. So remember that the final goal is to make this x alone in one side of the equation. Berarti kan siapa si 5-nya sama 65-nya harus hilang ya, right? So this 5 and 65 need to be disappear. So we need to do something to make them disappear, right? So I'm gonna make this one disappear. That is by subtracting both sides by 65. So I'm gonna write down again. So that would be 5x plus 65 on the left side, and then I have 180 on the right side. But this time I'm going to subtract both sides by 65. So why are we doing that? Again, because we want to get rid of that 65. Because 65 minus 65 is just 0, right? So that leaves us with the 5x, right? So 5x in here, and then 180 minus 65 is 115. Okay, guys, again, you can use the calculator later on, ya. Yang penting caranya sesuai. And then the last one is we want to get rid of that 5, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So I can cancel the 5, and then I can get only the x on the left side. So I will have x, and 115 divided by 5 is 23. And then you will get the answer. Okay? So I don't really have to give you another example because the concept are exactly the same, ya, karena konsepnya sama persis ya, begitu aja. Yang penting tahu kalau straight tadi supplementary angle berarti kalau dijumlah jadi 30, complementary angle kalau dijumlah jadi 90. That's the only difference. Oke, sampai sini ada pertanyaan, jangan keluar dulu ya, saya belum absen loh. Keluar dulu. Gimana guys? Is there any question? Tuh kan ada yang keluar kan? Tuh. Ada pertanyaan? Any question before I end the class? But again, don't leave yet because I need to write down absence and presence. Gitu. Enggak ya? Oke, saya akan stop share dulu. And then tuh kan ini tinggal sedikit. Oh my god, pada kemana ini? Oh, tidak. Bentar guys. Saya buka absensi dulu ya. File absensinya. Oke, Atasha. Arta, Haruni, tadi Haruni keluar tua kamu ya. Oh, Bima tidak ada ya? Apakah Bima sedang izin ini mengikuti turnamen? Oh, tidak ada ya. Ada Danish. Jadi saya ada Erik, Bima ada, ya Aliza ada, Aliza, kemudian itu ada Idris, ada Raihan, ada. Oh iya, Elia terima kasih ya. Tadi sudah jawabannya. Niki, ada, oke, Sharon, thank you. Nadia, ada ya? Nadia, apakah sudah ganti baju? Ini Nadia. Nadia, can you turn the camera on? Nadia. Iya. Pakai seragamnya. Maksudnya use the batik ya. Thank you. And then Linda. Oke. Oke. Sudah. Oke guys. If there's no question, thank you very much. I'm gonna stop the recording.